So good afternoon. May I please ask everyone to sit down, or if you want to talk, to go outside. Thank you. So, besides working for DKIX, I'm also on the board of directors of PeeringDB, and today I talk a little bit about PeeringDB. So actually, what is PeeringDB? PeeringDB is, like the name already suggests, is a database. And it basically contains all the information which you know for interconnection for peering. And what is this information, what you need? Of course, first of all, you need information about networks. But that's not all. You have somewhere to interconnect, and therefore you also have to have information about collocation, and last but not least, if you want to interconnect on large scale, you do this not bilateral, but you decide to connect to an internet exchange point. This means the last information what we also have is information about internet exchange points. And all this information nets about networks or ASNs, and collocation and internet exchange points together with contact information. This is put into a database where you have access to via a graphical user interface, and also in the times now that we are going for automation, we have also a powerful API so that you are able to retrieve the information from via the API and to message chats. So why you should use PeeringDB? Of course, as a network, you want to interconnect. That means you want to show where you are, where your potential peers are able to pick you up, what your peering policy is, whether it's open, whether it's restricted, so that anybody already knows beforehand what they can expect of you. And as a facility, you are also interested to be listed, also to have all your customers, your networks listed there as well. And for an exchange, this is the same. You want to have all your networks listed so that your networks which are connected are easily able to generate information from it. So what I did is I compiled information for the MENOG region, and what you see over here is first the country. This is the two-letter country codes for the region over here. The next what I did is I counted the number of IXs. The next is the number of facilities, that means collocation centers. The next one is the networks at IXs. This does not necessarily mean that the networks come from the regions, but these are the numbers of networks which are connected to the IX. Then I did the same for the facilities, and the last column is I took all the networks which are exchange points and which are in facility, and then I eliminated the duplicates. And what we can see is that we have, so what we see is still a lot of countries where we don't have an exchange point, at least not in PeeringDB. For example, I know there might be one in Iran, but for whatever reason, they decided not to be there. We are also very strict in listing the exchange point in PeeringDB. You have to use non-RFC 1918 addresses, and some IXPs still think it's a good idea to use RFC 1918 addresses to interconnect customers. It's definitely not. And we also see some countries where we even do not find any information about IXs or facilities, and then definitely also as a corollary, you won't not be able to find networks over there. I guess what we could say, which is healthy, is, for example, it's a UIE, where we have 2 IXs, we have a lot of networks. We also see here Lebanon, we even have 3 IXs, 3 facilities, 31 networks that's IXs. Interestingly, we only have 1 network in a facility, and which also seems to be connected to the IX. The last is also Turkey, which has 3 IXs, a lot of facilities, and also a lot of networks. And I guess we already learned from the presentation in this morning that this region definitely needs more work on exchange points. So, and who is behind PeeringDB? So PeeringDB itself, as a database, is already around since, I would say, roughly 15 years. And for 5 years ago, we detected that is operationally so important that we need an organization behind it. So what did we do? We found an association which is based in the US, which is a voluntary organization and which is 100% funded by sponsorships. Who can become a member of PeeringDB, of this association? Everyone. You only have to have a record at PeeringDB, and then you have to describe to our government's mailing list. If you are already a member, please also note that we will have our next online general meeting upcoming in roughly 3 weeks' time. If you're not a member, have a network, an IX, or a collocation, please register and also take the opportunity to have influence on our governance. What does the board do? The board sets the direction, takes care also for the finance, but for the day-to-day work, we have 4 committees. This is the admin committee, the operations committee, outreach, and product committee. The admin committee is best described. This is our support department. Whenever you want to register a network, a collocation on IX, this will pop up a ticket at the admin committee. The admin committee then looks through it and either approves it or denies the request. Then we have the operations committee. Because we are a database, we have to run the database, we have to run the user interface, the website, the mailing list, and so on and so on. This is done by the operations committee. Then we have the outreach, which in a company would say this is our marketing department, which also provides this presentation, for example, and also what we did at the last applicant meeting. We had our first tutorial because we think presentation is one thing, but you need more information, education on what PeeringDB is, on what you can get out of PeeringDB. Last but not least, there is a product committee, and this is what drives new features and who is able to bring in features. That is every one of you. We are using GitHub to collect information about bugs and features, and then what the product committee does is on a monthly basis we go through these features and then we decide whether we will have this implemented or not. And since Monday we also have our first employee. This is Felice, who acts as a part-time product manager because we have so many feature requests lined up that we are no longer able to do this on a voluntary basis. I already mentioned this. PeeringDB, of course, costs money, but it does not cost money for the end users. The reason for that is very simple. We have hundreds of thousands of end users, and it would be nearly impossible to write the bill for everyone. Therefore, we go on a sponsorship model, and a lot of companies think it's a good idea to sponsor PeeringDB, especially they are using PeeringDB also to offload work. They say, if you want to peer with me, you have to have a peering record, and then they automatically retrieve all the information which is needed for peering from PeeringDB, and by that they save a lot of money. This is a list of our sponsors, thanks to them. And what did we do this year? We rebranded. When we started PeeringDB, or 3 years ago, we completely redeveloped the user interface, the software behind it, and when we did it, the main intention really was to have everything lined up, but we did not that much care for branding. This is what we recently did. We also made PeeringDB open source a couple of months ago. Also, the idea behind it is that you are able to look at the source, that you know that there are no bugs, and that you also are able to help on improve PeeringDB with your own code. The next is, and also we had a presentation on that in the morning, is internationalization. When we started PeeringDB, the user interface was only available in English. Because of the high demand for Portuguese, we implemented Portuguese as the first language last year already. And meanwhile, we have set up a whole process to have PeeringDB in any language. So we have a translate server where we put in the strings to be translated, and we also have a mechanism to get these strings back and forth. And I guess this is especially useful also for this region because, as far as I know, or we will see it on the next slide, there is currently no one working on translating PeeringDB into Arabic. The amount of work for having PeeringDB translated in your language is not that much. So we have roughly 3,000 to 4,000 words which have to be translated. And I would say the most difficult part is, because sometimes sentences are broken apart, is to really know how the second part of the sentences will be. I don't know whether this is readable. As you can see, we already have Chinese implemented. If you want to have a look at it, we also have better.peeringdb.com. We already have all the languages over there, which are currently shown here, like Chinese. So Czech is also almost complete. French, German, Greek, and so Italian. These are almost complete. And I really would be happy if I could show Arabic at my next presentation as well. So, and this is it from my side, and I'm now open for any questions. Thank you. So, as I'm hearing impaired, I would, if you have a question, please speak slowly and clearly.
I have a question. What do they have to do? I mean, if I hear your presentation correctly, they do not exist as an internet exchange point if they're not on the PeeringDB.
So if you want to help on internationalization, this is what you have to do. You go to our GitHub, and then you say, I want to have it translated in Arabic. And then what they do, they check it out to our translate server. You have to have a PeeringDB account, and then you simply log into translatepeeringdb.com with your PeeringDB credentials, and then you start on translation the words which are in it, or the
So do we have any
sentences.
volunteers? Oh, come on guys, معلي شوية حماس هيك شوي صغيرة معلي. Okay, thank you Arnold.